September 12, 1957. The morning sun filtered through the tall windows of Cinecittà Studios in Rome, casting long shadows across the cavernous soundstage where Luchino Visconti was conducting screen tests for his upcoming film, Rocco and His Brothers. At 41, Visconti was already recognized as one of cinema's most demanding and sophisticated directors, known for his meticulous attention to detail and his ability to extract extraordinary performances from both seasoned actors and newcomers. That particular morning, Visconti was facing a casting challenge that had been troubling him for weeks. He needed to find an actor who could embody the complex character of Rocco Parandi, a young man caught between innocence and corruption, beauty and brutality, traditional values and modern temptations. The role required someone who could be both vulnerable and dangerous, aristocratic and earthy, someone who could carry the film's central emotional weight while maintaining the masculine presence that Italian cinema demanded. Dozens of actors had auditioned for the role over the previous month. Some were too pretty, lacking the depth and complexity the character required. Others had the dramatic intensity but lacked the physical beauty that Visconti considered essential for the role. Still others possessed neither the looks nor the talent that the director's exacting standards demanded. It was into this atmosphere of artistic frustration and growing deadline pressure that Alain Delon walked that September morning. At 22, he was virtually unknown outside of France, with only a handful of small film roles to his credit. His agent had managed to secure the audition through a combination of persistence and luck, convincing Visconti's casting director that this young French actor possessed something special that warranted consideration. But looking at Alain as he entered the studio, it would have been easy to dismiss him as just another handsome hopeful trying to break into Italian cinema. He was undeniably beautiful, with the kind of classical features that had made him a favorite of fashion photographers in Paris. But beauty alone was common in the world of cinema. What Visconti needed was someone who could transcend mere physical attractiveness to create a character of genuine depth and complexity. The screen test process was straightforward and routine. Visconti had selected a brief scene from the script, a moment where Rocco confronts the moral compromise that will define his character's journey. The lines were simple, almost minimalist in their construction. On the page, they appeared to be nothing more than functional dialogue designed to advance the plot without drawing particular attention to themselves. "I need you to read this scene," Visconti told Alain, handing him the pages with the same clinical efficiency he had used with every other actor that morning. "Don't overthink it, just give me the basic emotional beats and let me see what you look like on camera." It was exactly the kind of instruction that directors gave to actors in routine screen tests, professional, pragmatic, and designed to assess technical competence rather than artistic brilliance. Visconti was looking for an actor who could deliver the lines clearly, hit the appropriate emotional marks, and look good under the lights. Nothing more, nothing less. Alain took the pages and studied them for perhaps 2 minutes. Unlike many of the other actors who had auditioned, he didn't ask questions about motivation or background. He didn't request clarification about the character's emotional state or the scene's dramatic context. He simply read the lines quietly to himself, his lips moving slightly as he internalized the text. What happened next would become the stuff of cinema.
When Alain began to speak the lines, something extraordinary occurred. The simple dialogue that had sounded routine and functional when delivered by previous actors was suddenly transformed into something much more profound. Each word seemed to carry emotional weight that extended far beyond its literal meaning. The basic sentences became vehicles for complex psychological states that revealed layers of character depth that even Visconti hadn't fully recognized in his own script. But it wasn't just the delivery of the lines that was remarkable, it was the complete transformation that Alain underwent as he inhabited the character. His posture shifted subtly, becoming both more vulnerable and more dangerous. His eyes took on a quality that suggested depths of experience far beyond his 22 years. His voice carried undertones of pain and longing that gave even the most mundane phrases a quality of profound emotional truth. The crew members, who had been working efficiently through a long morning of routine auditions, gradually stopped what they were doing and turned to watch. Camera operators, lighting technicians, and script supervisors found themselves drawn into the performance despite having heard the same lines delivered dozens of times that morning. But it was Visconti's reaction that truly revealed the magnitude of what was happening. The director, who was known for his composed, analytical approach to evaluating performers, found himself leaning forward in his chair, his usual detachment replaced by obvious fascination. This was not the routine technical evaluation he had been conducting all morning. This was the discovery of something genuinely extraordinary. When Alain finished the scene, the studio fell silent for several seconds. It was the kind of silence that occurs when people have witnessed something unexpected and powerful, when the normal flow of professional routine has been interrupted by a moment of genuine artistry. "Do it again," Visconti said quietly, "but this time try it with more anger." Alain nodded and repeated the scene, and once again the transformation was remarkable. The same lines, the same basic emotional structure, but now infused with a completely different energy that revealed new dimensions of the character. It was as if Alain was demonstrating not just his ability to deliver dialogue, but his intuitive understanding of the multiple layers that existed within every human emotion. Visconti called for the scene to be performed a third time, then a fourth, each time with slightly different emotional instructions, and each time Alain delivered a performance that felt both completely different and completely truthful to the character. He was not simply following direction, he was collaborating in the creation of a complex human being, using his instincts and intelligence to find emotional truths that went far beyond what was written on the page. After the fifth take, Visconti called a halt to the audition, but unlike the brief, polite dismissals he had given to other actors, he spent several minutes talking with Alain about the character, about the story, about his approach to acting. It was clear to everyone present that something significant had just occurred. "I've been searching for Rocco for months," Visconti told his assistant after Alain had left the studio. "I've seen dozens of actors, some very talented, some very experienced, but I've never seen anyone understand the character so intuitively. He didn't just read the lines, he became the person who would speak those lines." The impact of Alain's screen test extended far beyond simply winning the role. Word of the remarkable audition spread quickly through the Italian film community. Directors, producers, and agents who had never heard of the young French actor suddenly wanted to know more about him. The screen test had not just demonstrated his suitability for one particular role, it had revealed the presence of a major new talent in European cinema.
But perhaps more importantly, Alain's audition had changed Visconti's conception of the film itself. The director began rewriting scenes to take advantage of the unique qualities he had observed in Alain's performance. The character of Rocco became more complex, more psychologically nuanced, more central to the film's emotional architecture. When Rocco and His Brothers was finally released 2 years later, critics immediately recognized that they were witnessing the emergence of a new kind of screen presence. Alain's performance combined the classical beauty of traditional European leading men with a psychological complexity and emotional intensity that was thoroughly modern. French critic André Bazin wrote that Alain had brought to the screen a new synthesis of physical perfection and psychological authenticity that suggests the future direction of European cinema. Italian director Federico Fellini, after seeing the film, declared that Alain represented the evolution of masculine screen presence, no longer the simple strong man or the pretty boy, but someone who can be both beautiful and dangerous, vulnerable and commanding.
The success of the film launched Alain into international stardom almost overnight. Directors who had been struggling to cast their own projects suddenly saw in him the solution to problems they had been unable to solve. His combination of classical beauty and modern psychological complexity made him ideal for the kind of sophisticated international productions that were beginning to define the new European cinema. But the impact of that September screen test extended beyond just one actor's career. Alain's approach to the audition, his ability to find profound emotional truth in simple dialogue, his intuitive understanding of character psychology, his gift for revealing complexity beneath apparent simplicity, became a model for how intelligent actors could approach their craft. Acting coaches began using footage of Alain's early performances to demonstrate to their students how great acting was not about theatrical gestures or obvious emotional displays, but about finding authentic human truth in every moment, no matter how small or seemingly insignificant. The screen test also changed how directors approached the casting process. Visconti's willingness to look beyond surface impressions and his recognition of Alain's unique gifts encouraged other filmmakers to be more open to discovering unexpected talent in unlikely places. The technique that Alain had demonstrated during the audition became the subject of intense study among acting professionals. What he had accomplished was not the result of formal method acting training or theatrical technique, but rather an intuitive approach to character development that seemed to come from some deeper understanding of human psychology. Film scholars who later analyzed footage from the screen test identified several key elements that distinguished Alain's approach from that of other actors. First, there was his ability to find subtext in apparently simple dialogue, layers of meaning and emotion that existed beneath the surface of the written words. Second, there was his physical transformation, the way his entire bearing and presence shifted to embody the character's psychological state. Third, there was his emotional authenticity, his capacity to access genuine feeling rather than simply indicating or representing emotion. These qualities would become hallmarks of the naturalistic acting style that would dominate European cinema throughout the 1960s and beyond. Directors like Jean-Luc Godard, François Truffaut, and Michelangelo Antonioni would later seek out actors who could achieve the kind of psychological realism that Alain had demonstrated in that legendary audition.
The success of Rocco and his brothers also established a new template for international co-productions. The film's combination of Italian neo-realist techniques, French intellectual sophistication, and universal emotional themes showed producers that European cinema could compete with Hollywood productions not through bigger budgets or more spectacular action, but through superior storytelling and more authentic performances. Alain's screen test had revealed not just individual talent, but the potential for a new kind of European film industry that could challenge American dominance through artistic excellence rather than commercial imitation. Years later, when film students studied the emergence of the European New Wave and the transformation of international cinema in the late 1950s and early 1960s, they would point to Alain's screen test as one of the pivotal moments when the old system of manufactured movie stars gave way to a new emphasis on authentic performance and psychological realism. The influence of that audition extended beyond just acting technique. It changed how screenwriters approached dialogue, encouraging them to write scenes that trusted actors to find depth in apparently simple exchanges. It influenced cinematographers to use more intimate, naturalistic lighting and camera work that could capture subtle emotional nuances. It even affected film editing, as editors learned to hold on shots longer to allow audiences to absorb the full impact of psychologically complex performances. The ripple effects continued throughout Alain's subsequent career.
Directors who worked with him often remarked on his ability to transform routine scenes into moments of compelling drama through nothing more than his intuitive understanding of character psychology. This reputation led to increasingly challenging and complex roles that allowed him to further develop and refine the techniques he had first demonstrated in that September audition. The young man who had walked into Cinecittà Studios that September morning as an unknown French actor with a handful of minor credits walked out as someone who would help define the future of European cinema. The simple lines he had been asked to read had become the foundation for a career that would span decades and influence generations of performers and filmmakers. Today, when acting teachers discuss the importance of preparation, intuition, and emotional honesty in performance, they often reference that legendary screen test. It serves as a reminder that true talent can transform the most ordinary material into something extraordinary, and that sometimes the most important moments in an artist's career can emerge from the most routine professional circumstances. The story of that audition has also become a source of inspiration for countless young actors who face the challenge of breaking into an industry that can seem impenetrable and indifferent to talent. The fact that Alain was able to transform a routine screen test into a career-defining moment by simply bringing his best self to the work offers hope to anyone who believes in the power of preparation and authentic artistic commitment. Film historians now recognize that screen test as a turning point not just in Alain's career, but in the evolution of cinema itself. It represented the moment when European film began to assert its own identity separate from Hollywood conventions, when beauty and intelligence were combined in ways that challenged traditional stereotypes about leading men.
The influence of that performance technique can be seen in the work of subsequent generations of European actors who learned to combine classical training with psychological authenticity. Actors like Gérard Depardieu, Daniel Auteuil, and more recently Marion Cotillard and Vincent Cassel have all cited Alain's approach to character development as an influence on their own methods. The screen test also demonstrated the importance of directors who are willing to recognize and nurture unexpected talent. Visconti's ability to see beyond surface impressions and his willingness to take risks with unknown actors became a model for other filmmakers who wanted to discover rather than simply cast established stars. The story of Alain Delon's screen test for Rocco and his brothers has become part of cinema folklore, the perfect example of how genuine talent, when given the opportunity to reveal itself, can change not just one person's life, but the entire trajectory of an art form. It remains a testament to the power of artistic preparation, the importance of authentic emotional commitment, and the magic that can occur when exceptional talent meets exceptional opportunity. If this incredible story of artistic discovery and transformation inspired you, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell. Share this video with someone who believes in the power of talent and preparation to create extraordinary moments. And tell us in the comments, have you ever had a moment when you surprised yourself with what you were capable of achieving? Because sometimes our greatest breakthroughs come when we're simply asked to do our best work.